And welcome to the second episode of Oh, the Stories We Tell, Introduction to the Model. I'm really pleased you're here. I really would love to have your feedback, as your questions are probably the most important thing to me at this point. I want to make sure that I'm articulating this well and that I'm not missing anything. I think what I have to tell you is universal in its nature, but that doesn't mean that your questions can't help to bring even more clarity, not only for myself, but for other people that are in the process of learning about this. So, with that said, the first place that we're going to start with is stories. One of the things that really got this model going in a big way was this idea from Eckhart Tolle initially, from The Power of Now, that we are really good at driving ourselves crazy. And when I heard that, I was really blown away to think that what I was saying and what I was thinking was having such a negative impact on me in certain areas of my life, that I was literally driving myself crazy about work and money and that sort of thing. Well, at the same time, I had an amazing relationship with my wife. I was in the process of raising 3 children and overall doing a fairly good job of it. And so when I read this, it really hit me. And the idea that what we could do is call this a story, and I didn't think of that by any stretch of the imagination, but the idea that we could call the way that we think about different subjects a story immediately created a space where I could say, well, wait a minute. What is the story I'm telling about my wife or my kids or what's going on at work? What's the story that I'm telling? And the best time to ask this question was when I was not in a good place, like I was upset about something, that sort of thing, where I could say, well, wait a minute, what is the story I'm telling? And just to be able to frame it that way and then have the ability to even go to the next step and say, gee, what is the story I want to tell, really changed how I perceived what was going on inside my head, around me, because the secondary way that works is then I can start to say, gee, I wonder what the story is that you're telling. You're coming to a conversation and I think that you are not doing it in a way that I feel comfortable with. It's very easy for me to ask, gee, I wonder what the story is that you're telling. It's also becomes very easy for me to say, here's the story I'm telling about what's going on. And that creates space as well, not just for myself, but the person that I'm having a conversation with, to be able to say, oh, well, that's not quite right. And so because we call it a story, by its nature, it's changeable. It has the ability to be changed. And so it's a really great way to simply take a step back and look at it, whatever the situation is, whether it's internally, something that I'm struggling with internally, whether it's a conversation I'm having with my boss or an employee or a coworker or my children, to be able to say, what's the story I'm telling about what's going on right here and now, is really, really powerful and has really been the basis of, I'm convinced, changing my life in a really positive way. And so what I want you to walk away with in this video is to start to ask the question, what's the story I'm telling about anything, especially in the places that you struggle? Taking a stock and writing down some of the places that you really struggle and asking yourself, what's the story I'm telling about this situation, is incredibly powerful, because you have now created this space between the story I'm telling and what the story I want to tell is. And that gives me the ability to begin to create self-awareness and to be the basis for change. So think about areas that you struggle, and then also think about areas where you really excel. Like, where are the places that you just really are dialed in, locked in the saddle, and write those down too. Take the time to look at where I have stories that don't serve me and where I have situations where the story does serve me. For me, that's my relationships with my friends, my relationship with my wife and my children, how I work with employees. Those types of things really serve me. Money and work have been kind of a different thing for me. And so taking the time to ask myself what those stories are and to begin the process of changing is really, really important. And we'll just wrap up with this. What this model is all about, other than the basic 3 questions: what's the story I'm telling? Is it serving me in the moment? And is there a more authentic story I can tell? Everything else is about practice. This is not going to be something where I come to you and say, hey, let's change your life tomorrow. Let's just do these 3 things and everything's going to be great. That's not what this is about. This is giving you the basis for how to practice to have more authenticity in your life, to have effective stories that serve you and as a result serve the people around you. But it is about practice. So, bottom line, the number one thing to think about is, what's the story I'm telling in this moment? And just know that that alone is going to help you to have more clarity and also the ability to say, wait a minute, that's not the story I want to tell. And then think about what that story is. So, the stories we tell, that's what this part is about. In the next video, we'll talk about the other 2 questions, and then we'll go into the model that I've created as a result of this. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to your feedback. One last thing, would you do me a favor and give me a thumbs up on this video? And also, if you want to see more, hit subscribe. If you want to see them right away, click on the bell. And then please, please feel free to give me any feedback that you have. More than anything else, I want to hear what people think, to answer their criticisms. And that's a great way to do it, is by leaving a message. Finally, you can find me at ohthestorieswetell.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at ohthestorieswetell, and also at patreon.com/ohthestorieswetell if you want to support me financially and also have the ability to see what's going on behind the curtains, which may be fun, who knows. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much.